The Overload by Yard Act, debut album by a new band. 11 songs, 37 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
And I love coming across these where like you just find a new band, you haven't really heard much about them that much, and then you hit play and they just slap, just nonstop. It just like continuous, like mom hitting you when you're 10 because you messed up in school just after every single syllable keeps slapping nonstop. This is
Is that changla or belt?
both.
Both.
You're
Changla,
alternating
left hand,
arms.
go to right.
There's got to be some like exercise like that in the gym where you're like alternating.
I'm gonna have to call it the changla from now on, like a dumbbell snatch, kind of like. I gotta tell when I explain it to people, they feel like you're smacking your child upside the head with the changla. You know, they messed up.
Akimbo chanclas.
That's horrifying. Like I'm dipping. Like I'm not sleeping at home that night. I'll ring you up, be like, "Oi, like, can I stay with you? Why? Mom got a Kimbo chanclas. Fuck."
And on this edition of Therapy now, so Yard Act's The Overload is a very just amazing first effort project.
Yeah, it's a really fun indie record. There's a lot of like
inspired, like post-punk
punk inspired, exactly. So this reminded me of, well, they're very different albums, but the way how I received Preoccupations when I got when we reviewed their record, kind of where you're just like, all right, we'll see what happens. I really haven't heard them, but I didn't realize that they were a different band from a different name. But anyways, and you listen to the record and you're just like, oh man, this is awesome. And we get these every once in a while on Audioface, and these are my favorite days. Yes, really good record. A lot of spoken word in there, or like very monotone singing, which is interesting, but more on that in a little bit. But anyways, the Overload starts off and you can hear like it is like indie punk. It is like there's a lot of different influences of it, but like with a nice modern twist to it. And a lot of things are on the nose, which I love because it doesn't take itself too seriously. It has a lot of fun with it. And I like that in the way, because I think, especially on a debut record, for someone who has a lot of punk influences and different indie influences, if you try to go out and try to be really hard or try to be other things, you could seem genuine sometimes, depending. But with this kind of doing the style that they did, where it's almost like you're having a laugh a lot of the times, it makes it really fun and enjoyable in that way. Very, very dry humor, which, I like and have.
Yeah. And it's good too, because there's a lot about this record that can get political at times.
Yes.
And we on the Audioface podcast are known to dabble with the politics from time to time.
Hashtag no politics.
And then so we don't mind that. But that being said, we have also criticized albums and will continue to do so when albums are really preachy or heavy-handed with their messages or beating a dead horse, so to speak. More on that later. But we talk about our artists and albums when they are not subtle with their message. This is doing it in a way where, look, there's only so much subtlety you can get in anything that's like punk inspired. But I think by having, in what Sean is saying, with a playful manner and approach to it, it doesn't feel like you're being hit over the head with these political messages, so to speak. They're just sort of here and exist on their own as statements, but also don't get in the way too much of just like the fun nature of what the music's supposed to be and what's supposed to feel like.
Exactly. Yeah. Like going into like the actual, like, yeah, the music of it. You have first two songs, Overload, Dead Horse, kind of gets you an idea of what it's going to sound like.
And Dead Horse is that political one where like,
yeah, exactly.
It's self-referential and like he knows the vocalist in the song knows that he is being like overly political. He's going over on it
because he's the dead horse.
Exactly. And that's self-awareness.
Which is what I love. I love exactly. I love it when artists have self-awareness, like going back to what I said, where you're on the nose, you're making jokes about yourself, you're not being too serious. I love that, because when you're doing that, a lot of the times you're very self-aware in that regard. You're doing it because, like, like you hear people ad nauseum on different subjects. You hear people whining and stuff. You got your Lana Del Rey's and etc. that we do on Audioface all the time. Where, we started this podcast in 2017 when every artist had made a fucking political record or political statement. Like, y'all don't know what you're talking about and all that. But there's people like this where they're like, all right, we know what we're talking about. But our wives are sick and tired of us just saying, "All right, let me tell you how neoliberalism made this beer $8 at the Honda Center. Sorry, like $13 at the Honda Center." And you're sitting there the entire second period going over why Al Gore is saying that the fucking seas would rise, but didn't do it, and all this shit led to this.
I need you all to picture Sean and his lovely girlfriend, who is a nice person. But like Sean, like that meme of the guy in the club talking to a girl about crypto or stocks or whatever, and the girl's just like literally is like, "Please get me out of here. Don't want anything to do with this. Not having it."
She's just watching the hockey game, like actually watching it, and I'm over here like, okay, so. Right.
So that
Jimmy Carter started it. This all happened when the government made Jimmy Carter get rid of his peanut farm.
And so then in the 1980s, when Ronald Reagan ushered in the era of this, your girl's trying to catch a shirt.
I'm even in the name. Anyways, going on.
Yeah.
Going on more to the record. This is why I love Audioface. Sorry, Yard Act. Really like your record. Payday, fantastic track. Rich is a really fucking funny track. It's like, I love being fucking rich. Like that's like like halfway through the song, it keeps doing that over and over again of saying that, and it's so on the nose. I love it. It's just that track made me laugh so much.
And yeah, it's that track is as much of a commentary politically as like any of the other previous tracks, where it's the allegory of someone who is rich and happy that they will never have to live like they did when they were poor. And then, not to spoil the song, but like you then go through kind of like the ways that, okay, sometimes you're doing well, sometimes you're not, and having to react to that and interact with that. It's very well thought out, subversive, kind of on the nose, thumbing, like finger to authority kind of like punk. Like when I say a punk mindset or a punk undertone, and sometimes I'm talking about like trap songs or rock songs that don't sound like punk, this is what I mean. You have to have this kind of deference to authority in your music and in your records that really make it good.
Yes. Quarantine the Sticks, another great song, kind of going down. You have a little bit of that middle of Incident Witness, Can I Get, Land of the Blind, which are all good tracks. Quarantine the Sticks is a track I really like too, because the way it moves, and I really, really like that bass line a ton. Yeah, it's such a good, fun bass line on it. I really like it. Also, side note, a lot of these tracks are like that sweet spot, like 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes or so. Then you have Tall Poppies, which is a longer song, which is like 6:30 for the song. And it's one that's like, it reminds me a bit of like early LCD Sound System, like Daft Punk is playing in my house era, LCD Sound System, where Murphy kind of goes on like vocals of like kind of spoken word going over a story, especially on Tall Poppies. It gave me that idea of it, but more of like a punk more than an LCD Sound System. But and then the last two tracks, Pour Another, 100% Endurance, land that plane perfectly with an ILS-3 approach, because 5G towers aren't installed at their airports because they understand it. Maybe Yard Actor pilots too. Who knows? But all jokes aside, I really like this record a lot. Like, for a first album, it is fantastic. The one thing I will say is the next record, full LP that you do, don't do so much spoken word as like monotone kind of singing that you're doing here. It fits very, very good for the overload. But I don't want it to become your one little niche sound and you keep doing it over and over again. I want you to expand on this, because this is fantastic as a first record. Just expand and do more things. But keep up your sense of humor, because I fucking love it. And I like it when people are on the nose, and I need more of that in music.
Yeah, I'd like to see, not asking them to change, like keep your shit a little political, but get more even topical. Like just talk about regular, everyday human experience, slice of life kind of things. And then I'd like to see that angle approached with these types or like this type of band. I think really whatever this band sort of takes on as a topic, you probably won't really do wrong with them. I have really strong hopes in Yard Act. I think it's gonna be really good. The key is kind of the theme of the podcast this week is intentionality with your albums, which I felt like this had, and hopefully in the future Yard Act will continue to do so.
Exactly. Yep.
Arbitrary scale. We love our RB scales. Green, yellow, red cards. This is giving us a green. This is one of the easier scales because like there's not really much equivocation.
It's a green.
Yeah.
100% green. You know, hold on. It's so good that it's a red card. You did so well that you know like you fucked with you outsmarted your teacher when you're in like in primary school in second grade, and you
You
were
made the
such a
teacher mad,
smartass
got
to
a
her.
red card.
Exactly, you got it. And my, I might be self-reporting here, but you outsmarted your teacher in second grade, and you got a straight red, and you had to go to like the whatever area. You can't sit by your friends and stuff because you were a smartass. And everybody sits there at the bench and asks you, "Hey, man, what you here for?" Like it's fucking jail when you're third grade because these guys are preparing for it already. Got to start them young. You know what I'm right? You gotta get that draft to the fucking Folsom Prison.
That's the
But
American
they're over
education
there like,
system,
"What you
buddy.
here for?" He's like, "Stole some stuff. What you here for?" "Man, I was late and I didn't have my homework and for like a fifth time." "What you here for?" I had to tell my teacher that East Germany didn't start, or the Berlin Wall didn't get put up until 1955. So like families could have moved over here from it, but she didn't believe me. But then I gave her a book on it because I'm actually German. But she got mad and gave me a red card and sent me to this area over here.
And that second grader was Richard Nixon. Just kidding.